Welcome to our August edition of Let's Get Growing. And in August it's really hot, so if it's not dying, it's got to be growing, and you're going to make it grow by watering. So let's get growing. We're going to mow, but mow once a week and start raising that height as it gets warmer so that it's shading the ground and not letting it get so hot, and also forcing the root system deeper so we've got a root system to make it through the winter. And remember, we've got to hand water a few things like your dry spots. Also, keep those newly planted areas wet, and also keep those water-sensitive plants such as caladiums and azaleas wet, or we won't have blooms. Now, remember that any plants that are going to produce berries for your winter display, such as possum haw or your Nellie R. Stevens, and even Nandina, will need to be watered at this time to maintain those berries so that you have not only beautiful red berries for arrangements, and you need to feed the birds. And that's how we feed the wildlife in our yards. Soak, don't sprinkle. That means we need to water deeply and thoroughly, because you do not want the water to just run off. You want it to soak in deeply, forcing the roots down deep so we have something to make it through the winter. This is the time to help the butterflies and the wildlife by starting a compost pile, because that is going to feed all of our plants in the spring and the fall. Now let's talk about pruning a little bit. We don't want to go crazy this time of year, because if you prune your shrubs back too severely, you're going to force a flush of growth, and it won't have time to harden off before your first freeze, and you could actually do more harm than good. Now on your roses, remove any dead or diseased wood at this time, but remember, we're going to wait until after December, 1st of February to prune those roses, but we're not going to go past February 15th. Now on fertilizer, you're going to want to fertilize your mums every 2 weeks to ensure that we get that full month's bloom that you get out of your garden mums. They don't bloom very long, but they're so beautiful when they do bloom. Also, you're going to want to fertilize your caladiums with a 21-0-0. That just means something high in nitrogen, low in phosphorus and potassium to force leaf growth. Because remember, we don't need flowers on caladiums. If you see those little spiky blooms with a sheath around them, you need to remove those, because if they're blooming, they're not making new leaves, and caladiums grow from new leaves. Now watch for and treat, if needed, grub worms, chinch bugs, and spider mites. And spider mites are going to be on the underside of the leaf, and you'll see the webbing. You can get rid of those by a heavy stream of water under the leaves, on top of the leaves, down the stems, twice a day for 7 to 14 days. That'll actually set up a little fungal infection that will get rid of the eggs. You're going to want to plant for spring color the plants that you see on the screen. But remember that you can also start several from seed, and those would be pansies and calendulas and other fall season annuals like flowering kale and cabbage. Now, from plants for color during September, you'd want to plant the actual plants of marigolds, zinnias, and periwinkles. And remember to use the series of periwinkles called Cora. Now also, in August, you're going to want to plant from seed those spring blooming wildflowers that we all love, like bluebonnets and Indian paintbrush and buttercup. But remember, when you're buying bluebonnet seed, it's about 20 pounds per acre. But buy unscarified seed. That way, if there's a problem and it doesn't rain enough, or it gets too cold, then they won't all be germinating at the same time. Now watch the screen for this long list of perennials that you can be dividing right now and increase your current perennial flowering area. You can also share with a friend and make the whole neighborhood beautiful. Also, if you'd like to have tulips and daffodils, those spring blooming bulbs, now's the time to go through the catalog, make those selections, and get them ordered so that you too can be planting at the right time, because some of them are going to take up to 8 weeks of chilling in the refrigerator before you can plant them, or they won't bloom for you. And I'm talking particularly about tulips. Daffodils can be naturalized, but remember, don't get narcissus that have this small little cup on the front. We want a big cup, and those are called daffodils, and we want to naturalize them. You know how you naturalize them? Take them out and throw them, and wherever they land, you plant them. And now they've become naturalized. But in 5 years, I need you to come back, divide them, and share them with a friend. We're going to plant another butterfly. I think you can remember we did this last time. But I am planting a burro's tail. And this is a succulent. And they will also come up from these little leaves that have fallen off, as you can see. And I've taken this pot and cut it down because this container has no holes in it. So this pot, I couldn't find one that fit, so guess what? I just cut it down with a pair of scissors. So remember, anything can become a container. I've taken some pre-moistened soil and put it into the bottom of the container. And now you're wondering, how's she ever going to get both of those in that little pot? Not to worry, there's method to my madness. I take them out, and then I am actually going to modify the soil structure. And all of those will become cuttings, I can show you in just a second. And then, see, here's one of the little leaves that's actually rooted and become another plant. Put it in here, crush. Pull them out at the same time and put them back in together. I add a little bit more soil. These leaves will all root. So now you see we've completed planting the container, and now we're going to take it and place it into the decorative container. And now we have a beautiful burro's tail succulent planter. Well, that's our August edition of Let's Get Growing. And I know it's hot, you've got a long list of things to do, but do it early in the morning or late in the evening, and you too can stay cool. But remember, umbrellas are portable and they don't have to stay over the table outside. You too can move them to where you're planting.